Glad to have you back. You're still watching Nigeria Decides. Now, gentlemen, before that short break, we were reflecting on the earlier conversation that we had in the studio. Now, another school of thought are saying that, well, since INEC has given room for this postponement, don't you think that to avoid the supposed plot of disenfranchisement, that we should have an extra timing or extension for collection of PVCs, or do you think that would just be another burden for INEC? Instead, they should just focus on the elections proper? Logistical
problem got us into this cul-de-sac. You want to compound the logistical problem? You're laughing. But, you know, I've also got this to add to it. Failure, like I said earlier on, cannot be excused by any rational human being. The only thing an intelligent being does with failure will be to forensically examine it and use it as a good guide to where you need to be. I'm one who believes that INEC has dropped the ball big time, and I'm one who still believes that more so in a rapidly partisan environment, once you have the two main partisan organizations lambasting INEC now, criticizing INEC now, and getting on INEC's neck now, and alleging conspiratorial moves with the opposition, I'm sitting there as a Nigerian.
Shouldn't they keep their cool and let INEC figure things out? Because all of these pointing fingers, allegations, blame game, and a whole lot more could be distraction. It's just like a sane human being driving and you're hurling insult and all of those. They could be distracted somehow.
I wish we could do it better than where we borrowed the system of government from. America tells me that we have borrowed something that is not only pecuniarily, financially expensive, but indeed emotionally and intellectually very, very, very anemic. Rabid partisanship is the best ticket you could have in any society, because it makes people to always speak below reason, logic, and what's in it for me to take as an advantage.
Tuyi. Interesting.
Again, talking about it, we cannot honestly be putting an extra burden on INEC now to say that, okay, go and be giving PVC to people. Now, the only consideration is to look at it that, you know, can we now allow some sort of either house-to-house campaign so that to keep, you know, showing up the base and keep the interest of people alive, so that we don't have a kind of disenchantment, you know, and voters' apathy, you know, running through the whole system.
So that 2 p.m. meeting that INEC is supposed to have, do you expect them to touch on whether or not we'll have campaigns? Do you expect them to touch on whether or not we'll have any voter more?
You will have campaign. You know why you have campaign? You know why I'm confident that you will have campaign? Because the regulation says that there is a time limit to the ballot day that partisan campaigns must stop. So INEC has no control over that. Once the election has been postponed for a week, 1 week, the 48-hour rule relative to the Electoral Act and the extant regulation will still prevail. That's the law.
Again, we can't then assume that everybody understands the law. This is the area of competence and experience of INEC.
Clarity
INEC at the level of information dissemination and voters' education should be able to clearly come out and inform people about that. So quite a lot of them may be ignorant, may not even be aware that that kind of law exists. So it's just how to manage this crisis. And honestly, what we should do as people is to find a way to cooperate and help INEC to deliver on this free, fair, credible, and transparent election. Because if that fails, the consequences might even not be too palatable. To manage those consequences may be a challenge. So from this point, after we might have expressed our anger, ranted about what we felt so bad about, we should be able to start to offer supportive mechanisms to help INEC to navigate this difficulty. Well, for me, beautiful. this is the first time in a very long time in an election that we cannot specifically say this person is going to win. It's quite tight, and that shows that our activities, our consciousness about democracy is improving. Let's, look at that positive aspect and take that positivity away and not be mindful, too mindful of other disadvantages we might be experiencing.
And lastly, do you think that this postponement somewhat might douse the tension that those serious tensions, heightened all across the country?
Ironically, it will heighten the tension.
Everybody has eagle eyes on the election.
Ironically, you see, I was praying that the election would hold today. You know why?
Why?
Because at the end of it, the reality would have dawned on the partisans. And the percentage of people out there with partisan interest in this election is so relatively high compared to what we've had in the past. And until the fat lady sings, when INEC officially pronounces who wins, tension, tension, tension.
Absolutely, because the best thing that can douse this tension is to conduct the election and declare the result. That is what everybody is looking at. Any other thing, this gap will actually increase the tension. The Twitters, the people that are partisan, they will go on and then be attacking. Issues will come, So the best thing that can douse the tension, conduct the election.
Let it be seen to be free and fair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tuyi Mebawondu. He is a political analyst, and of course, Mr. Gbola, political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll have to take a short break, and when we come back, more on Nigeria Decides. Don't forget, our social media handles are still
Yes, it's at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to also comment as well on our YouTube page. Have a watching all of this live.
All right, we'll be back right after the break.